right, let's dive into this. So like Dan said, I'm Niki Mosier. I am the SEO practice lead, actually the head of SEO at 2 Octobers. We're a digital marketing agency in Denver, Colorado. I'm one of the strange SEOs that really likes technical and local SEO, just kind of have an affinity to both. And I am a dog lover. Got my dog and my sister's dog here right now. So if you happen to hear a baby or a dog in the background, that's what's going on. And today I wanted to talk about SEO hacks for managing multiple clients. So I'm not totally sure about who we've got on the stream today, but I am full on in agency life. I've been at agencies for just over 10 years. And one of the things that comes with agency life, obviously, is managing multiple clients, which can definitely bring its own set of challenges. I think a lot of these tips might be helpful for people that maybe are freelance or consulting and have multiple clients, or have just a lot of irons in the fire if you're in-house. So hopefully, no matter what your situation is, you'll find some of these things helpful to you. So diving in, like I said, managing multiple clients can definitely feel a little bit like this, especially if your agency side or even if you work for yourself, managing multiple clients can definitely have you being pulled in all kinds of directions. Definitely as marketers, we have a ton of tools at our disposal, and I think we should really figure out how we can best use those. So today I'm going to talk you through some of my favorite tools and processes and how I have kind of tried to come up with some hacks for managing multiple clients and make it a little less hair pulling. So diving in, I think one of the most important things about managing multiple clients and any time we have a lot on our plate is obviously prioritizing. And when it comes to prioritizing what's on our plate, I think we need to take a look at the priority of the item, the impact, and the resources needed. So how high of a priority is the item? An example would be if you discovered you had a lot of indexed duplicate content during a content audit that you've done, this could definitely be negatively impacting your organic traffic and volume, or your organic traffic and visibility. And the impact could potentially be great, and the resources needed to implement that should be pretty low. You should be able to figure out how to take care of duplicate content without needing a lot of heavy lifting from a developer or a lot of time investment. So it's kind of how the priority impact resources needed model can be taken into consideration. Another example would be page speed. If you notice that the page speed on your site is really bad, especially on some high conversion pages, but you know that's going to take your developer a long time to fix, it might be a good idea to have the developer focus on those pages while you or someone on your team works on something a little less technical, like maybe writing meta descriptions or something like that. So figuring out how each scenario fits into a priority impact resources needed model. Another thing that's really helpful as far as prioritizing is using some sort of worksheet to help lay out the tasks. This particular worksheet, Brittany Miller, the senior SEO scientist at Moz, shared this worksheet in a Moz blog post a couple of years ago, but I find myself going back to it quite frequently in presentations, and I've actually created an iteration of it for our own clients, but it's really great in helping kind of lay out that impact, that time involvement, what goal a task is related to. I think that really helps in prioritizing tasks for clients is how does something relate to a specific goal? And then who are the stakeholders and what are the requirements needed to actually get that task implemented? And having this sort of organization, I think, can really help in keeping you on track and keeping things in perspective when trying to prioritize workload, especially for multiple clients. Another tab in this spreadsheet, and I can make sure that we share out a link to the spreadsheet when we're done too, but this helps kind of visualize things a little differently in regards to a specific KPI. So the specific KPI or goal for the specific project is to improve the product page conversion rate. So what are the high impact, medium impact, and low impact items needed to potentially improve the product page conversion rate, keeping track of a timeline for those items, and just kind of a different way to keep things organized. I think kind of having different ways to keep things organized, I think definitely is a good idea, especially because everybody works a little differently. So having multiple ways to think about the same situation can definitely be helpful. Another thing that's super helpful in managing multiple clients and any kind of work is project management. When it comes to project management, I think planning is key. One thing I got in the habit of doing when I started agency life was making a to-do list the day before. So before I quit working, it used to be before I leave the office, now I'm working from home for the foreseeable future, but making a to-do list of at least 2 or 3 things that I know I have to get done the next day. One, helps me hit the ground running the next day when I get into the office, and 2, really helps me to kind of brain dump and not maybe take some of those things home with me and be thinking about, oh shoot, I need to remember to do X, Y, and Z tomorrow, when I've already wrote down hopefully X, Y, and Z before I've stopped working for the day. Something that helps facilitate that to-do list for each day is if I set goals the day before. I found this really great productivity planner. One of my coworkers recommended it, and it's literally called Productivity Planner. If you look it up on Amazon, this is a shot from one of my day's work, but it uses the Pomodoro technique, which is blocking out chunks of time that you're going to set time to work on something. That you say you're going to spend 25 or 50 minutes on something, you set a timer and that's how long you work on something. And I've found having this layout really helps hold me accountable and really plan out what I'm going to be doing. Also, be realistic with yourself. I know sometimes I tend to, because there's 5 lines on this sheet, I tend to try to make sure I have 5 tasks on this sheet. And sometimes 2 tasks are going to take me all day. So just try to be realistic with the time that you have and the time that you think a project is going to take. So that way you don't end up frustrated when you're like, I didn't get all the things on my list done, when really you've planned 10 things on a day when there's no way you could get more than 2 things done. And another thing that I found to be really helpful is to block out time on my calendar for specific client work time. I know I tend to get a lot of meetings. I know a lot of people, especially in the agency side, tend to get a lot of meetings thrown your way. So blocking out specific time, that's my time to work on client work for a specific client, I found can be really helpful, and it ensures that I actually get work done for that client each week. This is an example of a project management tool that we use. We use Rike. And so I have dashboards set up for myself, and I've got a lot of different things that I work on. Being the head of SEO, I'm helping out with specific white label clients. I'm helping out with specific practice duties, a lot of different things, client work that I have to do. So this is really helpful for me to have a clear picture of what I have going on and what I need to be working on and what's coming up. There's a lot of project management tools out there that I'm sure people are familiar with. A couple that I've experienced that I think can be really helpful are Asana, Basecamp, Trello, and Rike. Each one obviously has their own pros and cons. I think just kind of if you're not using a project management tool, check them out. A lot of them have free trials, a lot of them are free, and a lot of them integrate with other tools. Like I know SEMrush has a Trello integration, so you can actually send tasks from like a tech audit in SEMrush directly to a Trello dashboard, which is pretty cool. It definitely helps with project management. So figuring out what works best for your team and for your specific situation. One thing that's definitely important in anytime you're managing clients is monitoring. So keeping an eye on data when you're talking about multiple clients, monitoring important metrics and data on a daily, weekly, monthly, whatever your time frame basis can be a lot to handle. I know for me personally, I have about 5 clients. Also, as being the head of SEO, I want to have an eye on how client performance is across the board with all of our SEO clients. So I started trying to figure out how we could monitor what we needed to monitor, and then how we could monitor that in a more efficient way. So thinking about what to monitor for client performance, monitoring for KPI changes, monitoring for errors, and also trends monitoring were things that were really important to us when it came to monitoring client performance. So one thing that I actually did is I put together in Google Data Studio a client monitoring dashboard. And what this is it's a set list of KPIs that we came up with. We've got metrics from SEMrush that compare each week. And as we can see, Google Data Studio sometimes decides to break, which is awesome. So we've got Google Analytics data here that decided it doesn't want to come in right now. We've got some keyword information coming in from SEMrush. We've got some impression data coming in from Search Console, some query data coming in from Search Console. And then we've also got trend data on a weekly basis. So being able to look week by week at different trends. And what I did is I basically created a dashboard for each of my clients. I use the URL embed option in Google Data Studio, and that way I was able to put all of my clients into one monitoring dashboard, because this client is under a different Google Analytics login than one of my previous clients, so it was going to be hard to create a Google Data Studio report with sharing data sources and all that kind of fun stuff. But the goal is to have every person who touches SEO clients in our agency have their own client monitoring dashboard, and then it's easy for me to take a look or anybody else to take a look at their client monitoring dashboard. When you think about monitoring client performance, one thing that's obviously helpful for me is the monitoring dashboard that I built. And then tools are also super helpful. SEMrush, Ahrefs, and then also Google Search Console and Google Analytics each bring different things to the table as far as monitoring client performance. I think it just comes down to personal preference and efficiency. And for us, I think the monitoring dashboard is going to hopefully help with efficiency. We'll be able to, instead of having to log into SEMrush and Google Analytics and Google Search Console every week to see where things are at, we can see where things are at through that monitoring dashboard. If anything flags us, then we can dive further into the specific area that it's coming from. That's only my first iteration. I'd like to add in some like 404 errors, that sort of thing, coming in from some automated screaming frog crawls, but just haven't gotten there yet. Another common thing that can come up when managing any amount of clients is reporting. Obviously, clients want to see what we're working on every month. They want to see some sort of proof that we've done things and some sort of results. So figuring out how to handle reporting at scale can definitely be time consuming. So I think some of the biggest things with reporting, especially at the agency level, that I've found is make it easy to replicate when you have a new client. Make it easy to set up. Part of the way to make it easy to replicate is to automate things. We do our reporting in Google Data Studio. We're starting to do more of our reporting in Google Data Studio. We had been doing it in Google Slides, which makes it easy to replicate, but doing our reports now in Google Data Studio makes it easy to automate. So this is an example of an SEO report in Google Data Studio. We're able to pull the month-over-month metrics in. Man, month-over-month metrics look cruddy right now, thanks to COVID, don't they? Able to look at year-over-year metrics, able to look at specific page metric, page view data, look at keyword tracking. This is coming in from SEMrush, which is super nice. And then I've got a Google Analytics. I've got a tab on that prioritization worksheet. That's a record of the deliverables that I've done for this client. This client just started. So they can see everything that's been completed so far. And then also, so I can actually get rid of this tab, but then also what's upcoming. So figuring out anything that will make work quicker for you. So I'm constantly updating this spreadsheet, and then it's automatically getting pulled into my SEO report every month. Most with the exception of needing to double check that all data sources are working, this report pretty much builds itself every month. And it's super easy to replicate for a new client. I think another important thing with reporting is to tell a story. So when we're talking about metrics, when I go to this slide, this could just say keyword ranking, or instead, what keywords the website is ranking for, how visible is the website. Trying to reword your reporting so that it actually tells a story for the client and is actually beneficial to the client and not just something else that pops into their email inbox once a month. Like I said, Google Data Studio dashboards are super helpful for reporting. SEMrush has some really great report templates and ways that you can automate monthly report templates if you're using SEMrush. And then before Google Data Studio, we were using Google Slides. And that's super easy to replicate, not necessarily automate as much, but definitely replicate, which can be helpful. When it comes to managing multiple clients, obviously having streamlined processes, I think, is really important as far as saving yourself some sanity and saving yourself some time and keeping yourself organized, especially if you have a team of multiple people. Having streamlined processes can definitely make things better and faster and help you be able to scale and serve more clients if you have streamlined processes. When it comes to streamlining client work, one thing that I found really helpful is using checklists. So in Reich, which is our project management system, we have checklists for new clients. So this is what should happen for every new client in the first month that they're with us. We want to make sure we fill out intake forms, get them set up in SEMrush, do the prioritization worksheet, et cetera, et cetera. So every time we get a new client and we create that client folder, people are supposed to go in and create this checklist, recreate this checklist into their client folder. We're working to actually take this one step further and work with some Zapier integrations to, once a client is in our onboarding system, then this would automatically get created and duplicated into the client folder, but right now it has to be done manually. But checklists are really helpful in ensuring that everyone's following the same processes and that important steps aren't getting missed. I know for me, one thing I often forget to do is to make sure that a client's set up in doing webmaster tools and the sitemap is submitted. Not super important. We tend to focus mostly on Google, but it's definitely something we like to do for clients, but something I would forget if I didn't have this checklist. Also, when it comes to streamlining client work, like I mentioned before, automating things can be really helpful. Handling multiple clients on a local level is something I do a lot of, multi-location local SEO clients. So things like uploading Google My Business posts or Google My Business Q&A can be really time consuming if I have a local SEO client with 30 locations. I'm not sure if anyone here is familiar with Noah Lerner and the Agency Automators group, but we recently brought Noah on our team as a product director, and our devs and Noah and the super smart people at the Agency Automators group created this Google My Business post tool for doing Google My Business posts for multiple local SEO clients. It can be really helpful because if you've ever done a Google My Business post, you know there's a lot of steps as far as going into the GMB dashboard. It's been really hard to be able to do it at scale, and their new tool, it makes that really helpful. So you just open up a new Google Sheet, you go to add-ons and get add-ons. And there's two add-ons that Agency Automators has come up with. They've created the GMB post add-on, and then you just add it on. There's also a GMB Q&A add-on. I'll have to find the exact link for it, but they also created a Google My Business Q&A add-on for bulk uploading Q&A, which is another important Google My Business feature for local SEO clients. But this post add-on is great because I can choose any location that I have in this account, and then I can actually put in the post. I can schedule the posts when I want them to go out, and they will actually post for me on a schedule. So if you're doing any sort of client work at scale, even if you're not doing any local client work, then these tools aren't relevant to you, thinking about any tools that you can find or have someone help you create that helps you do the work that you're doing at scale with automation can definitely make your life a lot easier. So lastly, just a couple takeaways to summarize when it comes to, and this should say takeaways, not monthly reporting, but when it comes to takeaways, thinking about task prioritization, monitoring, reporting, project management, automation, and how you can really streamline your processes. I know that was fast, but it's also the last session of the day. You guys have been super patient and filling your brains with a lot of good information all day. So hopefully I was able to give you a little bit of a brain reprieve. If you'd like to follow up with me about anything today, I'll share out this deck. I'll add a couple of those links to the deck before I share it out. I'll share it out on Twitter. You can also find me on LinkedIn. Hit me up on our contact form on the True October's website if you'd like. We're doing a lot of really great content right now. We're doing a lot of workshops. We've got workshops, webinars, online workshops scheduled, all free, scheduled out through at least September. And then we're also, any workshops that we've done prior to right now, we're getting put up on YouTube. So if you're looking for some free great content on anything from analytics to automation, SEO, paid search content, anything pretty much digital marketing related, or working on building out some really great content. I'll stick around for a few minutes if any questions popped up. Otherwise, thank you guys and have a great weekend. It's Friday.